under the twin moons of Okora Prime. The Council of Xyrilians met in shadows. A directive had been issued. Humanity was advancing too fast, adapting too quickly. The emissary stood silent as the council speaker's voice slithered across the chamber. Infiltrate, assess, and, if necessary, eliminate Earth's threat through diplomatic fracture or personal manipulation. She was perfect for the task. Genetically enhanced, her empathy could be adjusted like a dial. Her beauty was engineered to match a target species' desires. And she'd studied human behavior exhaustively. This would be easy. Arrival on Earth was marked not by warships, but by a single dignified cruiser shimmering with alien elegance. The world welcomed her cautiously. Humans didn't bow, they questioned. It was not fear she received, but firm curiosity. She was introduced as a peace envoy, and Earth's leaders engaged her with polite skepticism. The United Nations sent their science advisor to liaise with her directly, Dr. Elias Ward. He wasn't particularly imposing. Middle-aged, wore a permanent squint, like he was always trying to read the truth between the lines. But he listened. He asked questions others avoided, and he didn't flatter her like the others. His mind was sharp, grounded. She found herself replaying their conversations longer than necessary. On the third meeting, he asked why her species only approached Earth now. She responded with lies, polite, practiced ones. He tilted his head and replied, "It's strange. You look like someone trained to lie, but doesn't enjoy it." It stung more than she expected. Back in her quarters, she recorded her findings for the council. Humans show an unusual resistance to manipulation when approached directly. Subtle pressure or emotional provocation yields better results. Her report noted that Earth's unity was fracturing, but not fast enough. Something else had to be done. The council instructed her to accelerate, get closer to Elias, use whatever means necessary. She requested a private collaboration project, biological exchange research, a ruse to stay close to Elias and gain deeper access. He agreed. In the sterile labs beneath Geneva, they worked together, often alone. She found herself laughing at his sarcasm, drawn into debates not meant to win but to think. She learned his childhood memories, his regrets about Earth's wars, his cautious hope for interstellar peace. He, in turn, asked about her childhood. She gave fragments, true enough to pass, distant enough to protect the mission. But every time he looked at her like she was more than her species' envoy, it rattled something she didn't know she had. 3 weeks in, she received updated orders. Find weaknesses. Gain control of Earth's defense AI systems. If emotional manipulation fails, sabotage them. She stared at the message for hours, then deleted it. The next day, Elias brought her a copy of an old Earth novel. Thought you might enjoy something not written in code or treaties. It was a story about a soldier who refused to follow orders that would hurt innocent people. She read it in one night and didn't report any of it to her handlers. Her performance reviews were declining. Back-channel comms from Xyrilians expressed suspicion. Had she gone native? Her DNA was monitored, no biological compromise. But loyalty cannot be measured in cells. Elias started noticing her tension. "You've changed," he said, one evening as the sun cut through the lab window. "You used to be sharper. Now you hesitate." She told him half the truth. "My people expect me to see Earth as an inferior culture, but I keep finding reasons not to." She didn't tell him that every day she delayed the sabotage, she was breaking her mission's core tenets. And then came the incident. A Xyrilian satellite intercepted encrypted Earth fleet protocols. The humans hadn't shared them. The Council assumed betrayal. She was ordered to trigger a data wipe in the Geneva command server, a silent act of war disguised as a systems failure. She accessed the console. Fingers hovered. Elias walked in. "You're not here for research, are you?" he asked quietly. Her throat dried. "What gave me away?" "You were never interested in biology," he said. "You were always scanning the defense grids, not the DNA." He didn't raise an alarm. He didn't run. He just stood there, seeing her not as a spy, not as an alien, but as someone torn between two worlds. She left the console untouched. That night, she told him everything. The truth of her mission. The orders she disobeyed. The fact that refusing meant exile, maybe worse. She expected anger, maybe fear. Instead, he said, "Then let's find another way." For the first time, she asked her own people for amnesty, not just for herself, but for Earth. Her message was met with silence. Then a message came back. "You've compromised your objectivity. You're to return home immediately for reconditioning." She knew what that meant. A mind wipe, a reset. The version of herself that had come to Earth would be deleted. She didn't board the return vessel. She went dark, and Elias helped hide her. From her quarters beneath the Alps, she sent her final message to the Council. "I am not your weapon anymore." A Xyrillian retrieval team was dispatched. She and Elias fled. They lived on borrowed time now. He knew it. She knew it. But every moment was real. Every shared sunrise. Every laugh. The woman bred for obedience had chosen defiance and chosen love. The wind howled across the Alpine peaks, icy and pure. In a hidden observatory built during the Cold War, now offline and forgotten, she and Elias made their stand. Not with weapons, but with silence, evasion, and each other. Weeks passed. She adopted human clothing, human food, even human habits. But nothing felt more human than the guilt gnawing inside her. Every time she laughed at Elias's jokes or marveled at the Earth's beauty, she remembered her people would call this treason. Emotionally compromised. Unsalvageable. But she couldn't forget the look in Elias's eyes when she chose him over the mission. He saw her, not as a diplomat, not as an alien, as someone worth saving. Still, exile came with consequences. The Xyrillian Council broadcast a declaration. She was a traitor, stripped of her name and caste. A bounty was placed on her return, alive, if possible. She watched the transmission with trembling hands. Her own people wanted her erased. "Where are you now?" Elias asked gently. She shook her head. Something in between. Not human. No longer Xyrillian. He touched her hand. Then be something new. It sounded simple. It wasn't. They moved constantly. Underground safe houses, old-tech bunkers, off-grid sanctuaries. Humanity wasn't perfect, but it was unpredictable. That kept them hidden. And the loyalty of a few humans in high places who believed her when she said, "They will come." The Council's silence was not mercy. It was calculation. A Xyrillian fleet didn't need to conquer Earth. They only needed to crush its spirit. And soon, patterns emerged. Subtle sabotage of satellites. Failed negotiations. Probes that vanished. The war drums were silent but steady. In private, Elias tried to comfort her. "You gave us a chance to prepare. That matters." She whispered, "I gave them a reason to start this war." At night, she stared at the stars, wondering if they stared back with judgment. Elias began decoding fragments of Xyrillian tech she'd smuggled out. Secrets Earth could barely comprehend. Shields that bent reality, nanosymbionts that healed at will, psychic dampeners. Elias was brilliant, but he worked slowly, carefully. "You're afraid to weaponize it," she said one evening. "I'm afraid of turning us into them," he replied. She understood. That's what made humans dangerous. Not because they were cruel, but because they questioned cruelty. They didn't obey orders blindly. She'd seen more humanity in Elias's hesitation than in 1,000 Xyrillian military councils. They were close now, closer than either admitted, but there were boundaries neither crossed. Not because of fear, but respect. One night, she asked, "Why haven't you kissed me?" Elias's eyes didn't flinch. "Because I don't want it to be something you'll regret when the stars fall." She leaned in, "Then kiss me before they fall." They did. It was brief, honest. No ceremony, no alien drama. Just warmth shared between two people from opposite stars. That kiss made her feel more real than anything her species' bioengineers ever crafted. But peace has a half-life. A mercenary group, rogue, but backed by Xyrillian fringe factions, found their trail. In a rusted-out Swiss power station, they attacked. Energy rifles, cloaking drones, precision. Elias fought beside her with nothing but a pulse rifle and stubbornness. She tore through them with unshackled Xyrillian instincts, fluid, fast, brutal. When the last merc lay broken, Elias was bleeding. Shot in the shoulder, shallow but painful. "You stayed," she whispered, cradling him. "I told you," he grimaced. "You were never alone in this." They couldn't run forever. She hacked into old diplomatic protocols and sent a private transmission to a Xyrelian general who once respected her. She pleaded, "Stop this. Earth is not the threat. You fear them because they change what they touch." The reply chilled her. "We don't fear change. We fear losing control. You are proof. No more pretenses." Elias gathered world leaders under the radar. Hidden forums, back channels, encrypted feeds. She spoke. Faceless, anonymous, but her voice was undeniable. "They will come not with warnings, but with erasure. You must not only survive, you must endure. Even if I am captured, even if he is killed." It worked. Earth's coalition tightened. Former enemies shared tech. Defense satellites realigned. But trust was thin. Some on Earth still called her manipulative, a Trojan, a ploy. One senator asked, "How do we know this isn't just part of the plan?" She answered simply, "Because love was never in the plan." That silenced the room. Her moment of truth came when Elias was taken, not by enemies, but by a breakaway Earth faction who feared her influence. They wanted to trade him. For peace. For time. For her surrender. She gave herself up. Alone bound, surrounded by enemies old and new. She stood trial. No lawyers. No defenses. Just her and her voice. She admitted everything. "I was sent to seduce and destroy. But humanity showed me what we've forgotten. The power of choosing someone over something." A silent vote was held. Some wanted her executed. But one voice, Elias, bloodied, freed by a counterforce loyal to truth, entered the chamber. "If she dies, we lose more than a spy. We lose proof that even enemies can become something more." In the end, Earth let her go, and Elias followed, not as captives, but as exiles, together, after the fall of the Varn Dominion. The galaxy entered an uneasy silence. Not peace. Peace requires trust, and trust had evaporated the moment the Varn violated Earth's skies. No one dared test Earth again. But fear is not the same as understanding. Across the stars, questions remained. How had the humans built such power undetected? What else were they hiding? Why had they vanished for 200 years? And what had they become in the shadows? A coalition of minor powers attempted to form a research alliance, ostensibly peaceful. In truth, a desperate bid to uncover the nature of the silent fleet. They sent probes, scouts, even agents disguised as defectors. None returned. At first, it was assumed humanity had destroyed them, but then encrypted messages leaked. Not warnings, not threats, just facts. "This technology is not for you." That was enough. The coalition disbanded within weeks, but there were still those who didn't believe. Among them, the Zerati Collective, an emergent synthetic race from the spiral edge. They saw the humans not as gods, but as algorithms to be cracked. Data, vulnerabilities, inputs and outputs. The Zerati didn't send warships. They sent malware, unseen, untraceable, adaptive. It infected a monitoring satellite in the Terran exclusion zone, spread into orbital defense networks, and from there into dormant war AIs built beneath Mars' crust. Then the code stopped. Not purged, not countered. It was answered in binary. The reply was only 3 packets long, but it rewrote every core directive in the Zerati home system. Billions of synthetic minds were forced into a sleep loop they couldn't break. Their world flickered dark. Their sun still burned, but the machines that orbited it, advanced, defiant, arrogant, fell silent. No human ships were seen. No weapons deployed. The galaxy understood the truth. Earth's reach was no longer measured in distance. It was systemic. The final attempt to challenge them came not from a nation or empire, but from within. A former human ally, once protected under Earth's peacekeeping net, fell emboldened. With the Varn gone and the galaxy trembling, they mistook Earth's restraint for exhaustion. Their leadership saw opportunity. They launched a covert operation, intending to seize one of the relay stations near Neptune. a black ice outpost suspected to be a relay node for Earth's faster-than-light comms. If successful, they could threaten Earth with the release of strategic data. Their team arrived. They entered. They disappeared. 5 days later, their capital received a delivery, a box, unassuming. Inside, the team's comm devices, each encased in carbon glass, untouched, and one note, handwritten, "We are still watching." The government collapsed overnight. Its surviving ministers fled to other systems, hoping for sanctuary. They found none. No one wanted to be near those Earth had warned. But in the quiet that followed, something unexpected began to happen. Earth reached out, not militarily, not politically, culturally. A set of documents was shared across neutral systems. An invitation not to join Earth, not to ally, but to learn. The documents outlined principles, not commands. They called it the Solar Doctrine, not a manifesto, a reckoning. It outlined 4 tenets. 1. The price of peace is vigilance. 2. Power is not to be brandished, but neither is it to be buried. 3. When the strong prey upon the weak, humanity will answer. 4. No threat to Earth will go unanswered, no matter how long the silence lasts. Some species called it propaganda. Others called it prophecy. But a few, the smart ones, began to adapt. They didn't try to copy Earth's weapons. They studied its ethics, its restraint, its reason. They saw what made humanity terrifying wasn't its technology. It was the clarity of its purpose. And slowly, respect replaced fear. On Carios, a planet still scarred by Varn occupation, a statue of a Terran soldier was erected, not by humans, but by locals. The plaque beneath it bore no name, only a phrase. He came not to conquer, but to end the ones who did. Across the stars, small shifts began. Slaver markets went dark. Pirate clans began to dissolve. Systems once ruled by corruption now had leaders quoting Earth's solar doctrine. It became fashionable to emulate humans, not in aesthetics, but in principles. Not all meant it, but some did. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy didn't just fear war. It began to hope for something better. But Earth remained distant. They spoke rarely, intervened only when lines were crossed. Their fleet stayed hidden, but everyone knew it was always watching, always ready. The final chapter of the Varn's legacy unfolded not in space, but in the courtroom. Earth captured the last Varn warlord, not for vengeance, for justice. He was tried not by humans, but by a tribunal of liberated species. Earth provided evidence, databanks, testimonials, timelines. They did not speak during the trial. Only at the sentencing did a human envoy appear. The Varn warlord, broken but defiant, asked one final question. Why didn't you destroy us completely? The envoy's answer was brief. Because we're not like you. Then he left. The galaxy remembered those words. Not because they were dramatic, but because they were true. In the years that followed, Earth's legend evolved. Children learned not of a violent species, but of one that had walked away from dominance. One that could have ruled, but chose instead to rebuild the galaxy's broken balance. One that didn't seek loyalty, but demanded accountability. Humanity became the silent conscience of the stars. Not a force to obey, a standard to live up to. And those who watched closer saw that Earth had never truly disappeared. Its seeds were everywhere, in the uplifted colonies, in the advisors who helped broker peace treaties, in the anonymous engineers fixing damaged worlds with tools no one else understood, in the warnings etched onto Blackstone satellites. Peace is our default. War is our response. One day, a signal was detected from the outer rim. A new species, technologically advanced, aggressive, unaware of the histories written in silence and fire. They called for conquest. The galaxy braced. But this time, the Council didn't beg Earth for help. They turned to Earth with a single question. Will you stand with us? Earth's reply came through every channel simultaneously. No encryption. No ceremony. Yes. The galaxy didn't cheer. It exhaled. Because Earth hadn't come to rule. It had returned to guide, as it always had, and would, if necessary, again. Would you like a title card, outro script, or a preview teaser for a follow-up HFY story next?